Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OneMicNite, the podcast that brings you stories of people on their journey, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in life and the business. You already know who I am. It's Marcos Luis, and I'm back. And I want to thank you guys all for being on this journey. You know, we're on 17 years. We're on 4th season of the OneMicNite podcast. So thank you guys all for being along with me. This platform has been for indie artists since its conception. So thank you very, very much on that. Today, I'm very, very excited. I know I say that all the time, but this time I'm really excited. I have a guest on who I haven't seen in a long time, and he doesn't realize that I've been watching him this whole time, and he is someone who inspires me along the way. So I'm sure he's going to inspire you with this conversation. He is an actor. He's a flautist. He is a vocalist, a composer. He's all that. And he's here today on OneMicNite. Please welcome E.Talley II. Give him the full Monty on that one. E.Talley II is here with me today. So welcome to OneMicNite. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Good
Likewise.
Good
to see you too.
You know,
I know. Listen.
Creative people.
I have questions. The first question is, who is E.Talley II?
Who is E.Talley II? E.Talley II is first E.Talley II is a performing artist who likes to share creativity with those who can embrace creativity to the fullest and appreciate the process of exploring life beyond the day-to-day. Because I think it's hard to sort of come out of your comfort zone. And I think the performing arts takes people out of their comfort zone. And you need people who are willing to take that journey and take that risk to really broaden their horizons and expand their living beyond, you know, like a 9-to-5 kind of situation.
Let the church say amen. I like that. That's good. How did it start for you? Where did you come from? Where were you born? What's your background?
I'm a Michigander at heart, through and through. Yeah. I spent my formative years in this little city called Inkster, Michigan. And back in the hood, we used to call it Inktown because, you know, it's predominantly Black. Yeah, it's called Inktown. And I went to this little school called McNair Elementary.
McNair Elementary, okay.
McNair Elementary, and it was quite an experience. But I've always been creative, and I've always, you know, honestly, it started out with choreographing dance routines for me and my brothers and sisters because we have a Christmas talent showcase on my mother's side of the family every year, and I always choreographed the dance routines.
I like that. I like that. So how many brothers and sisters? How many siblings? What's a family?
I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I have an older sister, I have a younger sister, and 2 younger brothers. And they're all in Michigan. I was the only one who jumped ship.
Wow. That's exceptional in itself. Well, two things on that. I think we all kind of start off doing that because I did that as well with my family, my cousins. We had a little singing group and talent show, things like that. But was it something that your parents, I mean, you just were creative innately, or did your parents just kind of see that in you and just kind of push you and let you go in that direction?
They definitely encouraged me in every creative endeavor that I took on because, you know, I was choreographing routines for my brothers and sisters. But then when I got to Romulus, because we moved from Inkster to Romulus, and at the school I went to, they had this performing arts aptitude test. And I did very, very well on it. And so they were like, you need to be in our music program. And so they gave me a trumpet and I started out playing trumpet. And every step of the way, my parents were like, okay, go on and play that trumpet. And I said, okay. And so I go in the basement, play the trumpet. And then at the school I went to, they had access to all the instruments. Just check it out, you know, if we wanted to try it.
Right.
And so my teacher, Mr. James, he used to let me check out all the instruments and take them home. So I learned how to play all the wind instruments on my own.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and my parents were supportive every step of the way. And then in terms of choreography, when I got to high school, I was made flag captain of the, flag twirling corps.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would choreograph dance routines with the flag, with the corps. So I was doing all kinds of creative stuff through school, and my parents were there every step of the way.
That's incredible. Usually, you know, the parents of color, the Black parents, they're not like pushing you towards the art. They're pushing you more towards professional careers, you know, when we were growing up. So,
yeah,
kudos for them.
And they recognized my joy, because I got a lot of joy from doing all of those things. And they saw that, and they were like, okay. Now, I'm sure they probably want, I will say this real quick. When I was graduating from high school, I got a full ride to go to West Point, the military academy.
Good school. Yeah, of course.
It was a good school, but I was like, hell no.
Not for you.
There. It is not for me. And my father was like, will you think about it? Because he knew it was a really good school. And he did want me to go, but I was like, mm-mm. I was like, no. So I went to the University of Michigan, which was much better.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, in terms of creativity and things like that. But yeah, you know, the accolades and the reputation of West Point is like way up there. It's beyond words.
It is, but I don't regret it at all. And I will say, you know, during the time that I got accepted and got that full ride, it was during the time when they had very little diversity, and they were really hungry for people of color, particularly men. And I knew that I could have probably been doing some groundbreaking things in that regard, but I didn't want the trauma.
Right.
You know, I was like, I don't want that trauma. I want to be creative and enjoy my life.
Interesting. That's really interesting, because I know a lot of people who would succumb to the pressure, and, you know, especially at age 18, age 17, you know, doing what your parents want you to do. And that exactly what it is. It's trauma. If you would have gone there, that's trauma, because you wouldn't have been able to express yourself freely in any way. Did you start out at University of Michigan doing the arts, or were you something else?
Yeah, I majored in music, and I knew that when I was going, I knew I would be majoring in music. And, but, you know, I also wanted to explore all of the other arts as well, because I've always loved theater too. So I took a couple of theater classes, and I took a lot of French classes because I speak French. So I was just doing all the arts.
Now, see, how come I didn't know this about you? We're having a parallel life right here, because that's exactly what I did.
Oh, tu parles français?
Oui, je parle français bien.
Ah, très bien.
Oui.
Le français?
Le français à Northwestern University.
Ah, très bien.
J'ai étudié pour 8 ans.
Ah, oui, moi aussi. J'ai étudié à the United Nations Training Program. They had a program there, so I studied there too.
This is good. So we came along at a really good time, because, along the same lines as you, and this segues into sort of the affirmative action situation and all these opportunities that were awarded to us, which may now be taken away from us. Look at what we've done, and look at how it helped, you know, people of color. Look at how it helped Black people achieve more and do more and experience more.
Exactly. And I think that's sometimes people miss the purpose of affirmative action. And like, some people think affirmative action identifies people who are not worthy to be somewhere just to let them in and fill a quota. And that is so not the case.
Absolutely not.
It identifies the people who are more than qualified to be in these institutions, but they never would have found them because they never would have looked for them. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? That's what people, you know, people who are against affirmative action, that's what they do. It's just to identify the people who are more than qualified, who should have been identified in the first place, but who were omitted or overlooked. You know?
Exactly. Reaching out into the community and actively seeking those people who are qualified. And like you said, who may not have known that they could get into these institutions or how to get into these institutions, because
they're just flat out not welcomed.
Not welcome.
Yeah.
There you go.
Flat out not welcomed, even though they were more than qualified. So, you know.
Did you have any kind of like a summer program before starting the school?
I didn't enroll in it personally, but at the University of Michigan, they had this program called the Bridge Program.
Okay.
And that was for people of color, predominantly Black, and they sort of came together as a community before school began, and sort of they prepped them for what was in store, because it was, there were a whole lot of race issues
A
when I was.
lot. I can
Yeah.
imagine it. Yeah. You of
Yeah.
Michigan. Yeah. Same with
Yeah.
Northwestern. We had a program, it was called Summer Academic
Okay.
Workshop. So they brought together the people to help prepare them. You take classes, you make friends, they unite you so that you're prepared to go. Now, I personally I was already ready because I went to a boarding school beforehand, so I knew what to expect. But it
Mm-hmm.
was a great way to, find the other people like me and
Mm-hmm.
become friends. I met some of my best friends there. We're still in contact today. So those are important things, definitely important
Very,
things.
very. And they're disappearing, those
Those
programs.
programs, yeah,
So unfortunate, because they're still necessary.
they're very necessary, very
Mm-hmm.
necessary. That's the fight we have. That's definitely the fight we have.
We do, more so than ever, which is shocking, because we have definitely, the pendulum has shifted tremendously in this country. I never thought we would have, gotten to the point where we would have such radical conservatism in the country that we have to battle and try to reverse.
The
Uh,
worst ever. I
yeah.
saw a clip of an interview with I forget his name, from Fox News, with Trump, and they were asking about. Tell me his name. It starts with a T. Tyler.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And he was asking Trump if he felt like a civil war was impending. So, you can think about that on your own, but
I don't know. We're
we're
it's been moving for a while. In fact, I think that's why the Democrats have been slow in taking action against Trump and some of his administration, because they're fearful of a civil war. And I, quite frankly, think we need to just get it over with and move on. you know.
that's a big one. That's a big one. Like, how would it manifest? You know what I mean? How would that actually happen?
Well, it almost did. I mean, but they shut it down on January 6th.
January 6th, of course.
People were ready to revolt because they didn't get their leader, and that could have been worse. Fortunately, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it just speaks to the fact that there is a strong divide here in the country that you can't ignore, and you have to face it, I feel, in
Right.
order to work through it. And so that might.
I think that's the big question, though, is how do we get past it? I mean, it's a little bit more than, recognizing the history of this country. It's actually people having empathy for each other. It is learning about the history of this country, accepting the history of this country, learning about other cultures. And I don't know what else. I mean, what else can we do?
Well, that's the battle right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have one side that is not willing to understand the other side.
Right.
And I have to say, like, people try to bash the left, and there are some far left extremists for sure.
For sure.
The Democrats, in my opinion, have always had at least the willingness to try to understand the other side to a certain degree, so that we can find some common ground and move forward, even though we disagree, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like there has been the strong following on the right that does not want to embrace the way other people may think or live, because it's so different from the way they think and live.
Sure.
And so if they're not willing to come together to talk about a common ground, it's hard to move past the division.
It's definitely hard to move past, because there's the fear that they have of losing what they have, what they've gained. And, if you want to take it all the way back, we can get funky with it, because this country is built a certain way. Mm-hmm. So they feel like they're steadily losing the ground that they had, So yeah, there's a fear of losing everything. We, as the people, we're finding out how to invest our money. We are finally becoming billionaires. So people are putting that money back into the country and buying real estate. They're buying up the land. Look what happened in Hawaii. Oprah owns, a large percentage of it. And so now the people there, the natives there, are crying, she's just as bad as the gringos, she should be giving back and giving our land back and all this stuff. But, I mean, I don't even know how to feel about that.
I'd even take it a little further to a more simpler thought. And I've had conversations with quite a number of, let me just say, I have had quite a number of conversations with white men who are worried about losing America.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they brought up to me was that, white people used to be 76% of the population, maybe about 10 years ago or 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and not. They're like 60, I think 3% or 4%, which is still the majority.
It's the majority, yeah.
It's still the majority. To me, I'm
Right.
like, what you worried about? But because it dropped so significantly, and the trend has been that more people of color are the population of various communities of color are growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that basic concern that, okay, we're not going to be the majority anymore, and that
Absolutely.
fuels a lot of fear and worry with some people that I've spoken to who differ in opinion than me. But I like having those conversations just to see like what they're thinking and what they're planning.
Right. It's necessary conversation, and the thing is we have to take the conversations, but where do we put our resources? What actions can we take to continue our strive for equality? Every day you hear stuff, about even just racially with the police, people being beat up. I just saw a video today, a 19-year-old kid in jail, and he made a comment. The guy called him a bitch. Police officer just turned around and hit him in the face, and he started pummeling him, and the other police came in and jumped on top of him. So now they're suing the police for $50 million. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't even know. I don't know. This world, the country is gone crazy.
It's a lot happening in this country, but we have to hold people accountable for their actions. I mean, you can't go around, harming and brutalizing people just because you feel you're entitled to do so. Like, you have to, hold them accountable for it. And but the sad part is, we have I'm hesitant to bring it up because it could go into a whole nother conversation. But we have a former president who is one is a convicted sexual offender. Like, he got convicted, so he's convicted already. But now he just got he just got fingerprinted and arrested.
Booked.
Georgia.
They threw the book at him.
They threw the book at him.
Right.
And still the leading contender on the Republican ticket. Like, he is probably going to be the choice even after that.
Absolutely right.
In fact, I haven't checked yet this morning, but I'm wondering if his followership has increased, because I know when he got convicted for the sexual offense, he increased. So I'm wondering if it increased again or more, you know what I mean? Because they feel like he's the victim. And so that's unsettling that, we are rewarding this type of criminal behavior at the federal level, the highest
level. Right.
The highest level. We are rewarding that kind of activity. And that should be unsettling to everybody, to me, because.
But people aren't looking at it in a clear manner. They're, like you said, he and his people are using a psychology that the people are falling for. It's like television. It's like he's back on TV. And even with the mugshots yesterday, they released a fake mugshot first to diffuse the sensation of the real mugshot coming out later. It's all, photographs can't be taken of him walking in. They have to decrease the sensationalism of everything that's happening with him so that he can continue on playing the victim. So it's not, I can't even wrap my mind around all this.
It's it's hard to wrap your mind around it because it's hard to really find a solution. Because I know I like to really talk about what can we do. Because we can talk about the problem all day, and we see it on the news all day, every day,
all day long. Yep.
And I think the downside of that is I never see a report on like people brainstorming about how can we move past it. And that's what I think we need to have more of on TV. But since we don't, we as individuals need to come together and talk about what those solutions are. And unfortunately, it's hard to do that because the problems are so massive to me.
Right. It's huge.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. No, I wanted to go down there. So I know you do a little something. This is kind of off the track, but on the track, you do a little something that kind of helps people along the way. You do a little hiking, and I want to
Yeah.
talk about that and what that means to you and what it means to the people that you do it with, because I think
Yeah.
it's an incredible thing.
Well, that's one of the solutions we can talk about because, we may not be able to solve the big problems of the
Yep.
world, but we can certainly solve our self-care issues or self-care, our self-trauma. We can do things to heal our self-trauma.
Right.
And so I have been on a wellness practice journey since the pandemic hit. And during the pandemic, I found this group called Black Men Hike LA, led by this brother named Jelani, and it was a godsend. I mean, we go hiking once a month at a different trail every month throughout Los Angeles County and Orange County, and I think one time we went to Ventura County.
Mm-hmm.
But we just come together, we circle up, talk about our intentions, talk about how we're doing, and then we start on like a sometimes 6 mile, 7 mile round trip hike. And then we end with did we meet our intentions for the day, and then what are our intentions for the next 30 days before we meet again. So we're always talking about how we're moving forward and what conscious choices we're going to make to improve our lives and move forward on our wellness journey. And I love it. Ooh,
I
it's a
love
blessing.
that. I love that because I've seen clips on your social media, and I thought it's incredible. I don't know if this is the same person. We can talk about this later, but I saw a short independent film about something like this, the men's hiking group, and I don't know if these guys are associated with. Not, I'll have to look that up. But it premiered at
They were featured on NBC.
on
Maybe you
NBC.
saw. Yeah, what's the name of that thing? They had a Good Morning NBC show, and they came on the hike with us, and interviewed some people, and of course interviewed the founder, and it
Okay.
aired on TV. Did you see that? Is that what
I
you?
don't think that's it. There was a film at the Harlem International Film Festival that I saw. It was a short
Oh,
film. And I think there were 3 or 4 guys that were associated with it. And I'll have to look it up, like I said, to find out. Maybe you may know or may not know, but it may be the same guys, but it had the same purpose where, men of color, Black men get together and they have the intentions and they talk about it, and it's mental health and it's creating great mental hygiene for people.
mm-hmm.
Why do you think that's so important?
Well, in my opinion, and certainly in growing up in the Black community that I grew up in, there was no real concentrated focus on self wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And I dare say we needed it because all of the trauma that we face just as Black people in America. Like
Right.
you would think that we'd have some sort of concentrated wellness practice, but we didn't, other than the church. The church has always been sort of an integral part of the Black community. So we had that, but we didn't have anything sort of, in terms of psychological wellness and stuff, in my opinion. And so it's becoming more and more, particularly with the younger people that I know, they are really about, how can we survive the trauma of the pandemic, the trauma of, I know during the pandemic, the George Floyd murder happened,
Right.
which was traumatic for a lot of people. And so younger people were like, oh, we need to make a conscious choice to, take care of ourselves individually. And I think that sort of catapulted this wellness practice movement to higher heights.
Yes.
It had been there. It wasn't like it wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. It's just that I think those events, the pandemic and the murder, sort of, was the catalyst for people to be like, okay, we really need to focus on our self-care so that we can be more productive, once this pandemic is over.
Right. I'd have to confirm and echo everything you said. I feel like, the George Floyd incident a couple of years ago was a pivotal moment in our history in many ways. Mental health awareness and hygiene is one of the big things that came out of it. We see now more groups like yours coming out where men are feeling a little more comfortable talking about it. And, as we grew up, like you said, people of color, Black people didn't do that. The church was always a pivotal place for us to do that. So I feel great about that. I think we need to continue having these groups. I
Absolutely.
personally belong to a couple myself, and whether I'm in them or moderating them or whatever, it's a way for us to, reaffirm and confirm and help each other in a necessary way. So,
yeah. And one of the things I like about Jelani, because he is such a cool brother, and I'm gonna give him a shout out and his frat. He's an alpha.
Okay, all right.
I'm an alpha, so I want to give him a shout and his frat a shout. But one of the things that I like that he does as well, just in terms of furthering unity within the community, he has a unity hike once a year where he'll invite different organizations to join us in our hike.
I love that.
He joined. I love that. He invited because there's a Black Woman Hike LA 2 group that he invited them to come with us. There's a Black scuba diving group that he invited. And so I thought that was really cool, right? So I talked to him afterwards. I was like, are you inviting any Black gay men groups to join in your unity hike? Because I told him, I was like, I really think if you're about unity, I think you need to reach out to the LGBTQ community too. And there are some Black gay male groups in LA that I think would appreciate an invitation from you to come and join the unity hike.
Of course.
And he said yes. He was like, oh, absolutely. And he's not gay. He's a straight, married man with kids. Oh, no, he don't have no kids. But, he was so open. He's like, absolutely. He was like, this is about unity in the community. And I am all about that. So, yes. So let's invite them, for the next hike. So that's why I love him too. He's very progressive and taking action to forge the kind of unity that we need, to move forward as a community.
I like that. I need to talk to him. Maybe you'll hook me up with him because we definitely need something like that. We may have it here already. I'm not aware of it, but I definitely see that. And I can see, especially places like New York where you have Blacks and Jews who are in opposition. I would love to get Black and Jews together, Black and Asians, the Asian community together, everything. It's unifying.
That's interesting. I didn't hear about that. Blacks and Jews in New York are more divided now.
There's every other week there's a hate crime, and it turns out to be somebody who's Black or Latino, person of color, and it's unfortunate.
Really?
Wow. And the Asian community went through it for a while. I mean, it's not so much now, or either it's unreported, we're not sure. But it's just unifying a nation, unifying people, because we all have the same common thread.
Yes.
Humanity, love. We all need those things to survive. And we're all fighting for the same cause. It's basic causes, I met you in New York. And you are now in LA. How long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA 5 years.
5 years, man. That's crazy.
When I first moved here in 2018, I met some native Angelinos, and I told them I just moved. They was like, oh, well, you have to be here 5+ years in order to be considered an Angelino. And I said, that's stupid. I was like, no, I don't. I'm an Angelino. I'm here. But now I get it. Now that I've been here 5 years, I understand why you're not considered an Angelino until you've been here 5+ years. It's not what people think.
What would you say the difference is for all my people living in New York here who know New York? What would you say the difference between New York and LA is?
The biggest difference for me is all of the LA, in my opinion, LA is filled with all these little bubbles of communities all over the place, and it's big. Bubbles everywhere. And everybody stays in their bubble, and nobody really tries to go outside of their bubble. They have their own community, and that's where they're staying. A lot of it may have to do with traffic, because the LA traffic is bad.
It's real.
It's real. Like it may be only like 6 miles away, but it'll take you like 45 minutes to get there. So I understand why people here want to stay in their bubbles. On the East Coast, you have the subway, so you don't have to really deal with the traffic if you don't want to. You can jump on the train and get, like, I used to hang out in Brooklyn and
Harlem. Yep.
Staten Island, you know what I mean? Like, and vice versa. Like
Yeah.
people in the Bronx would come to Jersey City and hang out in club and all that kind of stuff. We had the subway and that kept us all connected, you know, even though we lived in different communities. We don't have that here. You have to make a really conscious effort to connect with all these bubbles. And in my opinion, the people don't. And it's so very divided here.
Mm-hmm.
And
but do you feel like it's a little more supportive, even though you feel like it's more supportive, or you just feel like it's very segregated in that way with your community and that's it?
I think every bubble is supportive of their bubble.
Okay. Like gotcha.
Every bubble is supportive of their bubble. They don't really think about the other bubbles because they're in their own bubble, you know, and there's no real motivation to worry about what the other bubble is doing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Until some violence and stuff erupts. Like if some violence or something erupts, then people are ready to, you know, mobilize. But in terms of socializing and connecting and really just building diverse communities, just, you know, beyond your bubble, I haven't found that yet. Other than Black Men Hike LA, because Black Men Hike LA is sort of a coming together of Black men from all over Los Angeles and Orange County. And so that, I think that's why I liked it too, because it was like, oh, finally, wow. I found a coming together, a community of people who all don't live in the same bubble.
Right. Interesting. What's the performing community been like for you there? Because I see you in a lot of different things, like you're doing poetry, you're acting, you're dancing, you're like, what's performing been like for you there?
It's been burning up all my gas because because I go to all the
That's
bubbles.
Hilarious.
I'm driving to get to a place that inspires me. Like, you know, if I gotta, you know, drive 40 minutes to go 6 miles, I'm good because I know when I get at my destination, it's going to be something that, you know, fuels me and serves me in a uplifting way, right? So I'm like, it's worth it.
This is what I like about you, E, because listen, you know, like I said, I've been watching you. You're first of all, you're a light. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you do exactly that. I'm sorry to cut you off. You go where you feel the energy and where you feel alive. And a lot of people don't do that. Where did that come from? Where did that, you know, seeking that energy come from to help fuel your fire?
It came from my dad. My dad was a cross-country truck driver. And he did it for 30 some odd years. And he took me on on a couple of trips with him just so we could bond as father and son. And that was two of the best experiences I ever had. Wow. Was just my dad driving in the truck, seeing all these new places and being like, wow, you know, all like awestruck. So I think it came from him. And he did it when I was really young. Like I was probably maybe 10, maybe or 11 or something. I can't remember. And, you know, there was no seat. He had, you know, in the truck he drove, there was no seat. So if I got tired, I just like curl up in the ball and sleep, you know, like on the floor. And then once my nap was over, I come up and just start looking.
I love that. The sense of adventure along with that. Yes, I like that.
Traveled when he was younger, he traveled cross country because he used to drive to California and stuff because you made more money if you traveled cross country. But then as he got older, he became more regional.
Gotcha.
He didn't want to be away from his family for so long, you know. And then it probably just got tiring because he did it for so long. But yeah, that's where it came from.
That's where it came from?
I think so. Yeah.
So what have you been doing since you're there? I mean, you know, the 5 years, I see you in commercials. I see you in teaching the line dance. I see you doing everything. Meeting some celebrities, hanging out. I see you. Let us know.
Oh, Richie, that's what you did. I was dancing in my line dancing class, which was fun. To give it up to her. She was a trooper because she had never taken one of my classes, so she didn't know how, you know, we do. And she jumped in, she took off her jacket. She was like, oh, well, she was like, let's do it. And she jumped in and I was telling her what to do and she was doing it.
I love it. I love it.
But I think the biggest thing was when I moved here, the biggest thing that happened was the Super Bowl commercial where I got to be in Will Smith's commercial for that show he created called Bel Air.
Bel Air, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That's great.
Yeah, that was so much fun. And I got to play flute on that too, by the way, which was also like,
I love it.
Play the flute. Like, oh, this is this. That was probably the biggest thing that happened when I moved here in
That was a
LA.
bonus.
That was a big bonus.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big bonus. So I appreciated that so much. Was so grateful. And so I hop around because, like you said, I do poetry as well. Last night I was at the Lifted Botanical House in Echo Park, and I shared this piece I wrote that the Department of Cultural Affairs in Los Angeles, they selected it for their heritage calendar or bulletin. Can't remember it's over there somewhere. But anyway, they selected it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to perform it. I'm going to perform it. Last night was my first time performing it in public. See who's welcoming and who's not. And some of them are not, but the ones that are welcoming, I jump in full force, make some great connections because there were so many amazing artists there last night. And, I met a lot of people who like to collaborate, and I am all for collaborating with other artists to try to create messages of inspiration, messages of love, messages of encouragement so that we can work through all of this challenge.
And like we were talking about earlier, the unity, bringing people together. That's what we need.
And some of them white people had never heard of spoken word artists. I was like, really? I'm like, really? Well, you need to come down to South Los Angeles. We have it all the time. Come to the Beehive. Come to the Beehive. It's over on 60th and Central. Yes.
Hilarious.
Like people north of the 10 here don't know much about south of the 10. And people who live south of the 10, a lot of them don't know much about north of the 10. It's very divided. And so when I tell people, I'm like, yeah, just come and see. It's not as bad as it's not as bad as you may think it is.
As you think, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite inspiring.
And then you got to turn them on to Love Jones.
Yeah.
That's what you got to turn them on to.
And all you got to do is go to your local library for that.
See? There you go.
Go find out how we do.
A little trivia for that, and I'm going to tell my age. I was a stand-in for Bill Bellamy in that film. And I got credit.
Really?
Yeah, I was standing for Hollywood. Yeah, that's when I had hair.
Totally.
Yeah.
Are you doing television and film, even though the strike is on?
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that too, but I kind of took a break from doing all that. I've sort of gone down the independent route for myself, and that for me is a little more fulfilling. I get calls to do some stuff, but I tend to take projects now that are offered to me and I read them stage. Been on stage back on off Broadway 4 times this year. So if somebody sends me a script and it's good and I want to do it, I'll do it, thankfully. I have a film coming up too. So it's been a whole different pathway for me, doing this podcast. And like I said, I feel like this is what my purpose is to help document people who inspire other people. That's my path. That's my purpose. So having people on like you is what the people who watch these episodes want to see. So I thank you.
Well, thank you.
Get on into it.
You're making me feel real.
You know what I mean? What do you have coming up? You have something coming up that you're planning? Or I know you said you're doing line dance. Is that a weekly thing?
Yes.
Yes. That's okay.
I'm very grateful to have that because the strike is still going on. And we're not even talking, right now.
It's just at a standstill.
It's at a standstill.
A real standstill. And so many people are affected by it.
Yeah. It's real standstill. So I can't even predict because, a lot of my people have been asking me, well, do you have any idea when it's going to end? And I have to tell them, sadly, I have no idea because we're not talking. And so, fortunately, the strike does not include commercial projects nor independent films. They have been given a waiver
Right.
from the union to continue using SAG-AFTRA actors, in their projects.
Yeah.
So I have, had some really positive auditions. Well, self auditions, because we're in the self audition.
We are. Yes, we are.
Self audition age, the self audition age. So I've done a few. Got to do one today.
Good. This is good.
And I'm excited about that. But I used to really do a lot of television and film, and so I'm feeling the crunch.
I know. I can believe it. Everybody's feeling the crunch. I have friends who do it too. I mean, that's a way of living. You're an actor, whether you're doing background feature, whatever it is, you're an actor. The people who do craft services, the location. I have friends who do wardrobe. My friends who do wardrobe for the major TV shows are out of work. And it's been a while now. Hair and makeup, everybody.
Makeup artists. They haven't been working either. They got all of their income from television and film, and it has literally been not working for like 4 months now, because it started with the writers.
Right. Exactly.
Not just the actors. The writers been on strike. The writers
started first.
And television and film has shut down when the writers went on strike. So all of the hair and makeup people and all of them, they've been out of work too, for a long time. And they really need to come back to the table and try, come to an agreement. Particularly the people with the money. They just need to share a little bit more of the money. That's all.
That's pretty much the bottom line.
Yeah, we're not asking for goo gobs of money, just enough to be able to live and pay this, high ass rent in LA.
Right, that's it.
Because it's not cheap to live here. For those who don't live, it's expensive. It's expensive.
Very expensive. But listen, we got to hang out when I come there, because I do come there. I don't know if you know this, but I've made a few films too, so I travel around at the film festivals with the films, and I've been in LA several times. I have a lot of good friends that live there too. But we got to hang out when I come back.
Let's do it. Okay. Yeah. Are you gonna get on the mic too?
I might. I mean, I'm not a big spoken word person, but I do a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to do just spoken word. I mean, I'm the only one at the open mics I've been to, like in Echo Park and Silver Lake. I'm the one that does spoken word. Like everybody else does, like guitar, vocals, but it said open mic. So I was like, well, the mic is so I can do what I want, right? I don't even know if that's my thing. I don't know if you know how this brand started. And I say this story all the time. OneMicNite started out as an open mic 17 years ago, remember? So this is the brand that I just continued on, and I turned it into the podcast. So as the open mic, it's continued on. And so I mean, I can do a little something on the mic, but I feel like my purpose is more hosting shows and creating stuff. So but we'll see. I know. Yeah, I'll work on you on that.
And next time you come up,
you're getting on the mic,
exactly.
Well, this is what I'm going to do too. Contemplate, ponder, explore, but you get.
Well, I want to do two things. First of all, three things. First, I want to thank you. I could talk to you all day long.
I know.
Second, I want to invite you back to co-host. I have a segment on here. It's called OneMicNite Talk. OneMicNite has two different things. One is OneMicNite Talk, where we talk about different issues. So I would love to have you on as a co-host on OneMicNite Talk. We can talk about some things. And thirdly, I wanted you to play something on the flute. So next time, maybe you'll play something on the flute, because I was going to surprise you, because I don't know if you know that I play the flute as well. I haven't touched it in 20-something years, so I was going to bust out something for you today. So next time you come on, I'm going to play the flute for you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
So please come back, and thank you for being a light in the community. I want to learn more about the hiking and what you do. Please keep in touch. Tell everybody how to get in touch with you if they want to reach out and do the line dancing and watch you as a performer.
You can check my Instagram page. That's E.Talley II, all one word, ETALLEYTWO. I'm on Facebook too, but Facebook is first name EI, then last name TALLEY, and then Roman numeral 2. And I post on those two social media, outlets all the time of things that are coming up and things, that I'm working toward, that kind of stuff.
And you're working towards something great, I have to add. So I am so inspired by you, and everybody, please, within the sound of my voice, make sure you reach out to him. Go to the Instagram page because it's fire. It's E.Talley II, TWO. Follow him and find out what he's doing. Stick around after this because I want to talk to you just one more second before you go. Everybody, you could follow me at Marcos.
I appreciate it.
Of course. Of course.
It's been so much fun, and it's so good to see you again.
Thank you. Likewise.
It's been a minute.
You can follow me, guys, at Marcos Luis. DM me, MarcosLuis. Slide on into the DM. Let me know what's going on. If you'd like to be on the show, you can do that as well. Follow the show at OneMicNite. OneMicNite is OneMicNite. Also, make sure you go to my store, Azules EN. As you can see, the t-shirt is here. You got to go to the store to find the whole thing. I'm not going to show you now. And you can get the merch. It's fire, baby. OneMicNite is coming at you. Azules EN. So thank you guys all for joining me for this episode. We'll see you next time on OneMicNite podcast with Marcos Luis. Bye-bye.